my shorts.
Welcome to the Dave Lee Down Under podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Dave Lee.
And I'm not.
And you're not. Your old mate, Rick, joining us once again on the show. And this is episode 6. Can you believe it? We've made it 6 weeks in without getting cancelled.
Cancel yourself?
Yes. Well, yeah, I guess I'm in control of that, so it's not as impressive. But anyway, we've got a really big show today.
Oh, God.
As a reference that I'm sure most people who are listening to this
Just
probably
don't
even get. But yeah, it's going to be a really, really big show today. A whole lot of stuff to talk about. Of course, this episode's going out on all podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Don't know about Amazon Podcasts. Haven't heard back yet, so we'll see what's going on with that eventually, I'm
Slackers.
sure. I know. I'm sure we'll hear back, maybe. I might get on that. Anyway, all the major podcasting platforms. The visual element is also available to view on YouTube, which goes out 2 days earlier to the Patreon supporters. So they get set 2 whole days earlier. But that does, of course, go out for free on the Monday as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you'd like to support the channel for as little as $1 a month,
cheapo,
you can do that by going over to patreon.com/Dave Lee Down Under.
You're a cheap ass, you know that.
I am a cheap ass, yeah. We said
so
that last week.
Alicia says.
Yeah, you said that joke last week too.
And I'll keep saying it until she doesn't.
You can find me on YouTube at Dave Lee Down Under, of course, over on Twitter and Instagram. Just search me, I'll pop up. Otherwise, there's the links in the description down at the bottom of every podcast on YouTube and the podcasting platforms as well. If you want to write into the show, you can shoot an email to daveleepod@gmail.com. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, please leave a review and a rating. It does help. Good ones.
Yeah, not bad ones.
Not the bad ones.
Just the good ones.
And of course, as we said at the top, old mate Rick is joining us once again.
Howdy doody. How are you guys? Hope everyone's okay.
I think they're doing okay. I think they're doing all right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hopefully.
Physically, we hope. Mentally, who knows?
Well, who knows? It is still...
With lockdowns and stuff here in
Melbourne. I know.
Still.
Well, we're still in lockdown here in Melbourne. This is a recurring theme every week.
It'll continue to be one for a while, I think.
I know. I think so. It's very unfortunate. It gets better, and then it just sort of...
Well, we've had a few days of under 10 cases a day.
Yeah, and then it goes
up. The last couple of days has been over 10. So the government wants to get the numbers down to what, 5 a day or something?
Yeah, the
average of 5 over 14 days.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see. We're getting there.
If people stop being morons, they might.
I know. We've had all these idiots out there doing the anti-mask protests and just being stupid. Just chill out, guys. Just chill out for a couple of weeks.
And we can all get out.
Let us get through it, man.
We want to get out as much as you do too. You know, like, come on. Let us all get out.
Well, we've, again, had not a very eventful week in lockdown. Your mate returned.
Which one?
Your mate, the courier
driver. Yeah. In fact, twice.
Was he here this morning too?
Yeah, he dropped in. Those who have been listening and heard last week's show, we had a courier pull up in our driveway and sat there for 45 minutes, parked in our driveway because there was nowhere else to park. Yeah. Well, don't park in my bloody driveway, mate. Park in somebody else's. I don't care what you do. You're here to deliver parcels. Deliver them. But turned out he didn't deliver anything to us. It was next door. Us, so he came yesterday, day before?
Oh, a couple of days ago, yeah.
He came and he was very sheepish.
Very timid.
He was in and out. And then again, this morning, he rocks up and brings us those.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's bringing us the goods.
So we've got, he was in and out real quick.
Oh, yeah, because I took...
real quick.
For those who aren't listening, for those who are listening and not watching, we've got a couple of PS4 games delivered. Crash 4 and Star Wars Squadrons. See how they go.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep us
a couple of other things in with that, but that's...
Yeah, just some random bits and pieces. But
exactly.
But yeah, I thought it was funny. I took the delivery from him the other day and He threw it up on the veranda, and I said,
And ran.
I said, thank you. And, yeah. ran away. Oh, geez, so funny.
I
poor
didn't get
guy.
to see him this morning. Someone else that lives in the house
took the
received the
delivery.
delivery this morning.
Oh,
so.
poor guy. I'm sure he gets his fair share of cranky old men.
What are you calling me cranky? I suppose the fact we went to Disneyland. Where was it? Disney in Paris, Disney, and you found the
grumpy
seven dwarfs.
Yeah, the grumpy.
Seven dwarfs.
I'm a grumpy old man or something.
I wanted to buy it for
you
me.
should have bought it. You weren't impressed.
I thought it was funny
We've
because I know I'm a grumpy old
Oh,
bastard.
you are. We've again, uneventful week of watching. So I suppose we've watched some good stuff. Last week we watched. Of course, we like to keep you updated with what movies and stuff we're watching at the moment. Last weekend we got a couple of new movies in. Oh, I'm so excited. We've had a few sales. JB Hi-Fi. Well, at the time this podcast goes out, the sale's finished. But they've had a buy one get
Unless
one free.
you're Patreon.
Unless you're a patron, yeah, it's still going. If you're listening to this on the Saturday, JB Hi-Fi, buy one, get one free, plus a 20% off, although the 20% off doesn't stack on top of the buy one, get one free. But they've had some really cheap stuff, and Amazon's been doing the same deal. So we finally picked up a bunch of new films, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
We'd
stuck watching old shit for a while.
Yeah, I know, that stuff that just piles up in the cupboard that's been there for 3 or 4 years.
There's probably a couple hundred that they've got to get through.
I know. And it's always the bottom of the barrel stuff. It's like, it's good, but let's get some new, great, good stuff in, really good. So this weekend, we got around to 1917.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was good.
So good.
Really enjoyed that.
Brilliant film.
It was something we had preview tickets for that.
I don't.
I think you had preview tickets, but you were overseas.
Yeah, I think so, and you couldn't go. Yeah. You couldn't go, and then my friends over at Universal Home Video sent me a copy of it on 4K.
Yeah.
They sent me the 4K disc when it came out, like at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yep.
And it never came.
It never arrived.
So it got lost in the post. Like that was, the poster's really slow at the moment. Things are going missing. Things are arriving damaged. But the beginning of the pandemic, it was awful.
We got an issue with Zavvi stuff at the moment, haven't you?
Well, yeah. Well, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm on and off with Zavvi because it's like, I might order 4 discs from them or 6 discs and they ship them all individually. And I've emailed them about it. I'm like, why the hell do you do this? And they're like, oh, well, our warehouse is so large and we have so many items.
Some dickhead doesn't want to walk 50 metres across the other side of the warehouse and pull it out of a box.
Every time, they send them all out individually and I'll get 3 in a day and then they'll slowly trickle in over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. I had one order of 4 discs. 3 discs arrived 2 weeks ago. I'm still waiting on the 4th one. I've had to contact them today. It's great. Just put them all in a box, in one box, instead of 4 little sachets. It's more expensive.
It's costing them a fortune.
It's crazy.
Because you only pay the one shipping fee.
Yeah, exactly right. But at the beginning of the pandemic, everything, every second parcel was going missing. We had stuff take 2 months to arrive.
Yeah, exactly.
It was really bad. So anyway, my copy of 1917 disappeared. I don't know where it is. Some happy courier has got it somewhere. But we finally bought.
The supplier supposedly sent you a second one. Remember?
Yeah, I think I don't know. They said they were going to sort it out. I don't know if that happened in the end. I think it just got too late because they wanted me to review it, and it was just it's been out for a few weeks now. Let's not worry about it. But that's okay. Well, I did buy that in a buy one get one free eventually, and I paired that one with Little Women, which we also watched this weekend. What did you think of that one?
Little Women. Which one was that?
That's the one with the Little Women with Florence Pugh and Emma Watson and
yeah.
Saoirse Ronan.
That was only, a couple of days ago?
That was the day before 1917,
Yeah.
Last weekend.
Old man memory.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah. Not usually your kind of film, that one,
Not normally. It was okay. It was not something that I'd sort of go out of my way to watch again, but
I loved it.
If it's on, I'll watch it.
It's a great cast. The cast is fantastic. And it's just a very joyful movie. Well, there's some pretty sad bits, but I thought it was just a fun film. I enjoyed that one. We got around to X-Men Dark Phoenix. If you've been listening, we've been going through the X-Men films. You loved it so much you fell asleep 10 minutes in.
Had a bit of a snooze halfway through for about half an hour.
Yeah.
And woke up and hadn't really missed much.
Yeah, it was awful. It was, like I really liked
wasn't great.
The first hour was great. But the last
I was awake through the first hour.
Oh, it's so bad. Well, apparently what happened, right, was because this got caught up in the Disney buyout of Fox. So because Fox owned the X-Men films before Disney bought Fox out, and now Disney owns the X-Men films, obviously. But that film got caught up in that buyout, so they kept putting it off. But before that, they were having troubles. They were reshooting. They pushed the film off a couple of times. Same thing that's happened with the New Mutants. Like, they had 4 or 5 release dates before it finally came out. So X-Men Dark Phoenix, apparently the ending, like the filmmaker who did it, like had the whole thing, like obviously planned it all out. It was like really great. And then Disney stepped in and was like, hang on a minute. This is like, the ending was apparently really similar to Captain Marvel. So they said, no, you have to reshoot it. So they made them reshoot the entire ending of the film. Apparently it's supposed to be like a space battle where Jean Grey, the Dark Phoenix, was like, you know, in her super-powered form, flying through space, beating aliens, like essentially the same thing that happens at the end of Captain Marvel. It was supposed to be like Skrulls in it, who were the green aliens that were in Captain Marvel. It was apparently like really similar. And the director said like it was also really similar to Civil War, where the X-Men were supposed to be like something like a rift happened in the team, and they were like, so Disney was like, no, we're not having that. Because the Dark Phoenix came out before Captain Marvel, so it would have been like, oh, Captain Marvel.
Spoiler.
You know, even if they're both like in production at the same time, whatever comes out first, did it first, right? So they were like, yeah, have to so that whatever they did with the ending, the reshot ending was awful.
Of course,
terrible.
You know, the Captain America, was it?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. that was their biggest franchise, so they had to protect that.
Well, exactly right. The
they
MCU
changed the ending of that.
So anyway, that was okay. Like, we've worked our way through we've watched all the ones we haven't watched now. We just got to get around to rewatching the two Deadpools, which will be interesting to see now that we've seen all the X-Men's.
Yes,
to kind of get all the little
properly.
in-jokes and stuff. Yep. And Logan, which we have watched, but I'm looking forward to going back to.
I didn't mind Logan.
I loved it. It was
good. I didn't mind it at all.
But I think my favourite one so far is the Wolverine. It was so good.
Yeah.
Or even like Days of Future Past. Brilliant.
That was good. Yeah.
Brilliant. I don't know. I might do a ranking video for the X-Men one day. I'm writing little 100-word bits on each of them, and one day when it comes relevant, I might. We watched the new Disney Plus movie Clouds yesterday. Again, we're embargoed on this until next Tuesday, so I can't say anything. It's that biopic. I'm not going to say anything because I know the more I say,
the more you say, the more you're going to say.
No, it's a movie and it's going on Disney Plus, and we've watched it. I'm embargoed to it. So my review will be next Tuesday. It lands on Disney Plus next Friday on the 16th. So yeah, we television shows wise, we finished the 3rd season of Yellowstone.
Woo!
Oh, it ended.
How good is it?
Oh man, it's good. It just gets better.
I just can't wait for season 4 now.
I know. Another year. We're going to wait a year.
They're filming at the moment, are they?
Yeah, they're filming. Apparently, they've just started filming again, and so like next July, I think it'll be back, which will be exciting rather. And we started The Great last night with Elle Fanning.
Yeah. Actually, really good.
We watched the first 2. Really good. Really good. Just
a
funny.
really offbeat. It's sort of like it's almost a dark comedy, isn't it?
Yeah. Dark, twisted, just weird.
Yeah.
It was done by the guy who did The Favourite. I can't pronounce his name. I'm not even going to try. He did The Favourite and he did The Lobster, which were both just really
The Lobster,
weird.
Yeah, that was a good film. I love that.
Which we've watched recently. That's very similar. If you're familiar with those two, very similar. And yeah, it's Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult. And they're both brilliant in it. Brilliant. Really, really good. Really, really
Nicholas
good.
Hoult? Beast?
Yeah, Beast from the X-Men.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Nice little
segue there. And here's another nice little segue. What do you hear? Oh, you were too early this week.
Jeez.
You were too early.
And
you ready?
again,
Let's go again. What's that sound? You got it. Beautiful.
Perfect.
For those listening, of course, old mate Rick has to whip out his cowboy hat every time it's time
I've
for...
got to pull you up on that.
Yeah.
We don't have cowboys in Australia.
Oh, what do we have? We
have jackaroos and jillaroos.
Oh, there you go.
And we have the they call them? Cattlemen.
Cattleman. So you pulled, and that's what the hat, isn't it?
It's
your
a cattleman.
All right. So you pulled out your cattleman hat because it's time for.
But they're essentially cowboys. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
it's time for
the Deadwood update.
Woo!
Yes, woohoo! All right. So as you know, if you've been listening, and if you haven't been listening, you don't know, we're going to tell you. We've been trying to get through Deadwood. It's our third time we've attempted trying to get through Deadwood, and we're finally up to episodes we haven't seen, which is great. And how many did we watch this week?
2.
We got another 2 in.
Another 2 in.
It's just a show that it's just a show that hard to find time for. Hard to find long episodes, and there's always something better that's on. So anyway, we got 2 episodes done, and we're now up to the final episode of season 1. Yep. We're going to be out of season 1 this week.
Hopefully next week we can report we finished season 1
yes.
and started season 2.
Well, hopefully, yeah.
That's if we get 2 more episodes.
2 more episodes. If it's 1, we've got through season 1. If we get through 0, then we're still stuck. We're still stuck. Now, I actually got a competition coming up as well. If you're listening on the Saturday, I'm not launching the competition to the Monday. So if you're listening on the Monday or any time after the Monday, the competition is launched. Head to my channel. This is for my Australian subscribers only. Thanks to my really good friends over at Umbrella Entertainment, I have a copy of SpongeBob Season 9 on DVD to give away. So I'm excited to launch that one. It's just something I just want to give back to the community. You guys know I love doing my giveaways and stuff, and sometimes it's quite hard to organise them through the Australian distributors and stuff. Most of my competition in the past have been US based, yeah. So I'm always
that's because of it's come from the
it's
US
come
suppliers.
from the US. Well, yeah, exactly right. So the US suppliers have sent out stuff. So I'm always on the lookout for potential giveaways for my Australian subscribers. And I finally found one that looked good, and I think people are going to jump on this. So SpongeBob SquarePants Season 9. Umbrella Entertainment have just released Season 9, 10, and 11, I believe. So you can go out and buy them on DVD right now in Australia. But yeah, so I'm going to put out a specific video, which is like a giveaway for SpongeBob. On there you can enter, and I'll draw it in probably a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, so if you want to get on it,
guys. And of course...
Any what do you call it? Prerequisites?
You have to be a subscriber.
Yep.
That's the main prerequisite. You got to be a subscriber, and there'll be some sort of question. At the time I'm recording this, I haven't sorted it out.
Okay,
but there'll be a question or something you got to answer. Just watch the video and you'll find out. And yeah, so yeah. But it's been another big week. And it's going to be a bit of a somber tone today because it's almost like I'm really feeling this state of cinema at the moment is
a lack of.
It's like the end times. I feel like a broken record because we're going over this every week. Oh, there's been delays. But it's a big one this week. A lot of cancellations, and this is mostly on the back of James Bond 25, No Time to Die. Last week looked like Sony were adamant about getting the movie out there on November 12 in the UK, November 25 in the US. It looked like, all guns are blazing, we're ready to go. They ramped up the marketing, they launched a podcast, they put out Billie Eilish's music clip, a new trailer.
Well, it's not a new song, it's...
Not new, song's been out since the beginning, when the movie was supposed to come out, but they put out a new video clip, new trailer, everything, ready to go. And this is what we had to say about it last week on the show. I don't know, is this movie coming out November 12? This isn't something I feel like they're going to just slap on streaming. This is something they're going to want to put in cinemas.
Oh, it'll go to cinemas.
Is it coming out November 12?
It probably will.
You reckon?
I think it might.
Will they risk it?
Well, just because we can't see it here in Melbourne at the moment doesn't mean to say that Sydney and Brisbane and
they could. I guess they could do that, like what they did with Tenet. But Tenet was such a failure; it bombed.
Bombed, didn't it?
Especially in America when no one went.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's what we were saying last week.
Wrong.
We weren't sure.
No,
it's not happening. It's been
nothing's going to surprise us anymore.
It's been pushed again. Now, this was originally on the 4th of March this year, and then it moved to the November slot, which is a traditional spot for James Bond. So they were like, oh, yeah, we got a pandemic and everything. But, I think it's probably best we release it in November because James Bond traditionally opens in November. So that's fine, right? Well, no. They've now moved it to 2nd of April 2021, which is another one that's been pushed over a year after the original release date. And
craziness. It's absolutely crazy.
The crazy thing about this, right, and this is the weight of James Bond, one of the longest surviving franchises in cinema history.
It would have to be the longest.
Probably the longest.
Have to be.
It would have to be, other than, 1960s.
Yeah.
So it would be the longest continual.
What was the first one, 63 or something? 64?
Something like that, yeah. If you don't count stuff like the Universal Monsters or anything, but like that hasn't been continual. Like this is the longest, I guess, continual franchise. And the weight of this, far out, domino effect. Absolute domino effect.
Yep, everything just fell behind it, didn't it?
Uh-huh. Well, firstly, a bunch of movies, like literally 2 or 3 days after this, have all been postponed again in the wake of James Bond, right? The last James Bond film with Daniel Craig. So Universal have pushed back Fast and Furious 9, which moves from April 2nd, 2021 to May 28, 2021. The original release, the very first release was May 2020. Sorry, May 22. No, jeez.
It's a mouthful?
Yeah. May 22, 2020, right? So it's another
full year.
Another full year plus almost a week, right? Universal has also delayed Jurassic World Dominion. That's Jurassic World 3 or Jurassic Park 6 if you're playing at home. They've delayed that only a couple of days after they revealed the poster for the film. Yeah, Jurassic World is coming out.
The poster only just came out.
Yeah, the poster came out like 2 days before.
But did it have a release date?
I don't think the poster had a release date. I think it might have been like a coming soon, so I think they were playing it safe.
No.
But they've actually had to postpone shooting because they've had an outbreak on the set. Colin Trevorrow, the director behind the film, he tweeted, "Woke up to the news. We had a few positive coronavirus tests on Jurassic World Dominion. All tested negative shortly after, but due to our safety protocols, we're going to pause for 2 weeks. Back soon." So they've paused production again. They've been filming for a couple of months now. They shut down at the beginning of the pandemic. They started again. They've shut down again, which is something that we're hearing a lot of recently. The Batman did it. They're pushing that until next year. That's coming out in, 2022.
And I was reading earlier, a couple of days ago, that they haven't pushed it back to 2022 because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
They've pushed it back because they don't want it to clash with things like Black Widow coming out next year.
Well, that's the
thing.
So
they've pushed it back that extra year so that it gets free space.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing, because you've got theatres, they have these open windows, and the studios have to kind of battle to get those release dates and the release slots and the screens and like buy the screens and book the screens. And when everything starts shifting around, fucking everyone's got to, follow.
Yeah, well, that's what I was reading. They were saying that they've pushed it back because they want it to have free space and to let it breathe by itself. And of course, they want to get their money back on it. So,
exactly right.
And they're a little bit unsure as to whether they'll be able to get bums on seats in the cinemas.
Well, Warner Brothers has followed suit as well. The Batman moves from October 1, 2021 to March 4, 2022. The original release date was June 25th, 2021. That's another one that's been almost pushed back almost a year. Warner Brothers have also delayed Dune, which takes Batman's October 1, 2021 slot. And that goes
it's not
to...
a great loss, I don't think.
Well, no, I'm not. I don't know.
Who knows?
Dune. A lot of people out there are so excited for it. I'm not. I don't know. It looks pretentious to me, but that's just me.
I haven't watched the trailer or anything.
It's got a great cast, stacked cast, but I don't know. It's nothing that's really interested me. Dune.
Got Thanos, isn't it?
Yeah. Josh Brolin is in it, and Oscar Isaac and Timothée Chalamet, whoever his name is. He was in Little Women.
Oh yeah.
So that's pushed into 2022 November, so that's essentially like a year back as well. And that was an interesting thing, is that was supposed to be the last film that Village Roadshow were going to distribute for Warner Brothers here in Australia. but now because of the split
They won't be
between
doing it.
Roadshow and Warner's, no, they won't be handling
Wow.
that. So it was supposed to be that and Wonder Woman, but Village Roadshow, and we'll talk about Wonder Woman in a moment. That's like a December release, apparently. But we'll see. But the big one, and this is breaking news. Like we were preparing today's podcast when this one broke. I got an email, a press release from Disney. Soul, Pixar's Soul is headed to Disney+. This, of course, follows a whole bundle of Disney's films which are being delegated to the streamer this year, which includes Artemis Fowl, One and Only Ivan, Hamilton, and, of course, Mulan. Great thing with Soul, though, right, is it's a free-to-access film, which is what Artemis, Ivan, and Hamilton did. They just went on there, no extra charge, you just watch it, right? It's not a premiere access thing like Mulan. Don't know if this is out of the kindness of Disney's heart or because of the backlash that Disney made people pay $30 to view Mulan, or whether there was poor performance of that experiment that they did with, who knows. But Soul is going on there outside of Premier Access. You don't have to pay a single cent extra other than your membership.
I would have paid for it anyway.
I would have paid for it. Yeah. I'm so
It
excited for Soul.
looks really good.
And it's funny because I've seen a lot of people out there are actually saying, I would have paid $30 for Soul. But people just obviously weren't willing to pay that $30 for Mulan.
Mulan, yeah.
I think they just picked the wrong film to experiment with. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it was the wrong time to experiment with something like that. You've only had people on board less than a year, and now you're going, pay me extra $30. I don't know, but it's just an experiment that has apparently, or clearly, did not pay off the way that Disney wanted to. I've taken to Twitter and I've asked some people on Twitter, my followers on Twitter. I do this every week. For one of the big stories, I always put out a little line, see if people have a little nibble. They want to have a say on the podcast. I was kind of curious to see what people were thinking about this. Blake, regular listener and a patron. Thanks, Blake. Blake says, it'll be sad to see what looks to be such a beautiful film go to streaming. That said, can't think of a better time for them to drop a Pixar film. Most families are connected to Pixar films in some way, so I can picture watching this in the Christmas day after a big lunch. Oh, sounds good.
That sounds all right.
I think so. Sam writes in, I think majority of Disney's major releases will inevitably move to Disney+. Movies can only be delayed so many times, and the film industry is moving towards digital distribution being its primary revenue source for first-run movies. I agree with that too. A lot of these movies are going to get delayed. It's only a matter of time before we hear Black Widow, Disney+.
Yeah, exactly.
Lockie, all-round idiot. He's a mate. He's not just a guy I'm calling an idiot. He says, great result. Nicholas says it isn't doing the Premier Access stuff, so that's good, and it's still coming out this year, so that's another plus. So they could have just kept pushing it. We're getting it this year.
Yeah, it's good.
That's the good thing.
That's good. I'm actually really looking forward to it.
Me too. It's going to be good. Rachel from Rachel's Reviews, I think it's a short-sighted decision. Nathan says, the news I was so anxious about having to hear, would have gladly waited a whole year to see it theatrically, but I get why that isn't possible. A lot of other people weighing in there. Thanks so much for writing in. But I think, again, it's one of those things that's kind of mixed reactions, but what I'm gaining from that is people are now just accepting that this is the way it is.
Yeah, exactly right.
And it's like, yeah, fuck it, like it's shit. This is a movie I would love to see on the big screen. It looks gorgeous, really vibrant, beautiful looking film with a lot of heart and soul. Just a Pixar. It looks like this could be the best Pixar film in a lot. Like, it'd be great to see in cinemas, but for how long?
Would that be up as 4K or just
probably? Yeah, they have
if
been
you had a 4K TV, that is going to be beautiful.
I know. And that's like, you got a big screen and stuff. It's going to be good. Like, we're sitting here in our theatre room. We got a big 3-meter screen, so we can't complain too much.
No.
But and a lot of people out there would want that huge screen experience as opposed to watching it on a television, a panel or something. But I think it's going to look beautiful. Again, excited. We're going to get it this year instead of next year. We don't have to keep waiting.
Awesome.
Well, I think what's going to happen, once cinemas reopen, they're going to have some kind of films to go into cinemas to kind of get people back in before they start releasing the big ones. Put Soul on. Put Mulan on. Put Tenet on. Limited run screenings. Get people back into the cinemas. See these movies that have, at that point, maybe been out on streaming for like a year. Just get all these films into the cinema. Give people the chance to see them theatrically at least once, you know? Even if it's just like limited things. Interesting development.
They probably will. I reckon they will once.
I think they will.
A lot of these things will go to a cinema with limited releases after the pandemic.
They're going to want to make their money back somehow on these releases.
And even if you watch it at home on Disney Plus, chances are we'll go and watch it at the cinema as well.
I'm dying to see Mulan in IMAX.
Yeah, that's right. Because they did it.
Yeah, it was enhanced IMAX enhanced version. It's been awesome. It will be awesome when we finally get to see it. Interesting development on Mulan. It's coming to physical media next month.
Really?
Yeah,
that was quick.
Really weird surprise announcement. No notice or anything. A couple of days ago, Mulan's now available to buy on streaming services. A lot of people are pissed off. I've just fucking paid $30 for Mulan on Disney Plus, and like less than a month later, it's on streaming services with bonus content, right?
Yeah.
That's a bad move. I got to say, that's a bad move.
Bit of a dick move, isn't it?
Yeah. You paid for it on Disney Plus. Like I don't buy streaming and stuff, but I know there's a lot of people out there who do buy streaming. You'd rather pay your $30 to have it on that streaming service with the bonus content and all that stuff, as opposed to have it locked into Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's a shit move. I love Disney. I support a lot of their decisions and stuff, but you got to be critical where, you know, it calls for it. I think this whole the way they handled Mulan, just a big stuff up. It's hitting physical media next month, which will be 4K and Blu-ray. Kind of artwork and stuff started leaking out. Little what do you call it? Like listings on media websites and stuff are popping up. It's coming out in the US and Australia so far, as announced. And it'll be released alongside the animated version of Mulan in 4K too, which should look beautiful.
That'd be nice.
But yeah, so you'll be able to buy Mulan physically, and like I agree. I'd be pissed off, paid $30 for Mulan, and then less than a month later, or like a month later, you could have paid the same amount to buy the 4K disc.
That's right.
I mean, this was what a lot of people were complaining about at the beginning. Like, why do I have to pay $30? I'd rather pay that for a disc. Well, you can in a month's time. I don't know. I just think the whole way they handled all that was a bit of a... Put the price down, I think. Disney Plus, put the price down. But anyway, back on track. With all that said, Warner Brothers, they are still adamant that Wonder Woman is hitting cinemas this Christmas. I don't see it happening.
I'm not going to comment on that because, you know... Chances are they're going to put it back and you'll see it next year.
Well, how often do we do this? Oh, is it coming out? Oh, I think it might. And then fucking next week. Sorry. Director Patty Jenkins was quoted in Variety as saying, keeping audiences away from movie theaters will not be a reversible process. She also warned we could lose movie theater going forever. It could be the kind of thing that happened to the music industry where you could crumble the entire industry by making it something that can't be profitable. Is this true?
Well, we were talking about that last week. I think it was last week we were talking about that, weren't we? About the, people will get used to watching this stuff at home and they'll be comfortable with it. And even if occasionally they've got to pay, $20 or $30 to watch it at home, they'll rather do that than spend $100 getting a family in at the cinema to watch something,
Yeah.
And people will just get used to it.
Well, like what we've been saying for weeks.
People are lazy.
It's just that thing. I saw Jeffrey Katzenberg give a talk 6 years ago and he said this is exactly what he said was coming. And it's here. They've taken the chance. They've taken the opportunity. They grabbed it. Grabbed the bull by the horns and just gone with it. This is our chance. And people are getting comfortable with it. We can see it with the reaction to Soul.
Yeah,
Had that been a month ago with Mulan, nah, fuck this. I'm not paying extra to watch this. I don't want this to go. I want to go and see it on the IMAX. I want this fucking... And then this week it's like, well, all right. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But you can see that shift already. It's only that like month's difference too. Give it another 6 months.
Or was it deliberate? Was it a deliberate move by Disney to put that out at $30 to watch it, so that then they can come out and they go, this one will give to you as part of your subscription?
Well, I don't know, because
get people subscribing.
Well, again, we have had Ivan, we've had Artemis Fowl, we've had Hamilton all go free, but Soul is a big one. That's like a big one to go there for. Who knows? I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not going to speculate. I don't know how planned it is. I think they're flying by the seat of their pants, just watching, I don't know. I think Mulan was just an experiment that didn't pay off for them. And unfortunately, Soul has become a casualty. I think if maybe they'd put Soul as the first one, that probably would have paid off better. I think people would have been more receptive to pay for Soul than Mulan.
Possibly.
Again, Mulan's a film that had such a big controversy behind it, political things, and just, again, the whole, you want me to pay $30 for that kind of thing? Big controversies behind that. I think Soul would have fared better. And especially like that would appeal for even the younger kids too, like an animated film. I don't know. But
there was something we were talking about just earlier that had gone.
Oh yeah, music DVDs, like concert DVDs and stuff. Yeah. I'd stumbled across something. I don't know what it was, but I read it the other day. I was like, shit, yeah, that's true. They don't release Blu-rays, DVDs of concerts anymore because it's all on YouTube.
Yeah.
They do like we've got a live concert, we're going to stream it on YouTube. Or there's a Glastonbury concert and they put it up for free. Or they stream a concert from somewhere, you know? What's the point of putting out the DVD anymore?
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. We used to buy them all the time. I'm thinking, shit, when was the last time I actually bought a music DVD? It's probably
been years.
Would have been the last one Coldplay put out, which was like probably 4 years ago now.
I've probably bought, I don't know, probably bought more since then, but
don't know.
They've been older.
Yeah, I can't even think.
Older stuff.
I don't know.
They've been current.
Yeah, so that's something that's gone. You get the occasional one here and there, but it's something I've not really thought about. But the biggest ramification of this domino effect that has been James Bond. This is the big one. This is the huge one. This tells you how big this franchise is and how these cinemas were just relying on James Bond to bring in the money. Cinemas in the UK have been open. There's cinemas across the US that are open. Cinemas in Australia are open, other than here in Victoria, right? And this is really the biggest news out of this week. CineWorld, which is UK's biggest cinema chain, have decided to close all of their cinemas in the UK and the US. The Times reported cinema giant CineWorld to shut after 007 fiasco. Obviously, this was, again, going to be a huge film for the UK in cinemas. The article said Britain's biggest cinema chain is set to close all of its screens after the new James Bond film was delayed, robbing audiences of a must-see movie and the industry of a lifeline. CineWorld, which has 128 theatres in the UK and Ireland, is this weekend writing to Boris Johnson and the Culture Secretary, Oliver Dowden, to say the industry has become unviable because of the decision by film studios to postpone big budget releases. So it's 128 theatres in the UK and Ireland that are closing temporarily. And this has said that they could put 5,500 jobs at risk. A majority of the staff are going to be asked to accept redundancies. And CineWorld later announced this is true. All cinemas are closing temporarily from October 9. So at the time we're recording this, that's today. By the time you're hearing this, that's it, they're closed. Temporarily closed. They're also going to be closing. CineWorld owns Reagal cinema chain in the US, and they're closing 543 cinemas in the US. So God knows how many jobs are at risk in the US.
Oh, God.
Right? If you've lost 5,500 jobs in the UK from 128 theatres, I don't even want to know how many jobs are lost by closing 543 cinemas. A lot of those 5,500 jobs are probably going to be people like office jobs and stuff, working like head office and stuff at CineWorld, but 550 odd cinemas to close, it's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot of people.
Will they reopen?
It's going to be probably 20,000 people, maybe.
Probably. Well, I don't know. It's awful. It's so bad.
You'd hope they reopen.
Yeah. Well, one article I read quite a while back, this was like at the very beginning of the pandemic, AMC, which is another one of the big American theatre chains, they were very close to filing bankruptcy just like at the beginning of the pandemic. And even that article said, well, CineWorld's probably going to go the same way, Regal Cinemas. I don't know. Can they survive it? Can they survive being closed for an indefinite amount of time?
I doubt it. I don't know. Without knowing their financial situation, you just think, exactly. My God, how are they going to survive?
It's insane. I mean, like that's...
like we were saying last week, that in like late 90s, early 2000s, cinemas weren't doing well.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably right through until about, I don't know, maybe 2007, 8, 9, something like that, when the Marvel,
Avengers, yeah.
You know, the Avengers and the and Star Wars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sort of drew people back to the cinemas. And now with the pandemic and people getting used to streaming and all that sort of shit, I can't see all those chains surviving.
No.
I really can't.
I think if they...
Some will. Some they might scale down. They might have... So for argument's sake, in New York, you might have, I don't know, how many AMCs do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know.
There'd be a couple. There'd be a couple in Manhattan, you would think.
Oh, yeah.
They'll probably close all but one.
Yeah, well, yeah, they'll. I think if once they reopen, they'd have to go like, all right, we're going to open like 50% of the theaters again. Yeah. I don't know. This is just speculation, but I feel like I don't think all of those cinemas are reopening. That's like an accumulative total of like almost 700 cinemas there. The best part of 700 cinemas in the US and the UK that are closed. I mean, how do you reopen all those after this? I mean, this industry is going to be, knocked off its feet for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to take a long time for people, even once everything's over, like people to go back, to be comfortable to go back, comfortable in my own home, watching stuff on streaming.
Yep, that's right.
It's crazy. Like, this is huge. CineWorld's not my cinema of choice, but they are an incredible theatre. Now, the only reason I say CineWorld's not my cinema of choice is because when I was in the UK, where I was living, the CineWorld was kind of in the dodgier end of town. I went to go see a movie one evening and almost got mugged. So I was like, I'm not going back to CineWorld again. But they are a great theatre, like really like reclining seats and just like a lot of space, brilliant cinemas. I like the light cinema. The light cinema was close to where I was living, and I could just pop down there in the morning and go see something. And they were slightly cheaper as well, I think. I don't know if they're going to stick around. I don't know what their financial situation is, but if the biggest chain in the UK can't survive,
but you got to remember the bigger the chain is, the bigger the overhead.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So if you've got a smaller chain,
so they might survive.
They may have a better chance of surviving because they don't have the overhead.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And of course, the UK has the Odeon as well, which is another big chain. So hopefully they stick it through. I mean, we need cinemas. We need some to stay open. Does this go back to what Patty Jenkins was saying about Wonder Woman? It's the beginning of the end.
Possibly.
We spoke about this last week, and I don't know. Like, we can speculate all we want, but it's changing so rapidly, like week to week.
The streaming service are the ones that put the coronavirus out.
Well, yeah. Gosh, that'll be the next bloody conspiracy, won't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's dire times, and it, like I said, rapidly changing week to week.
What are our cinemas here doing? Are they? There's been no real announcement of Village or Hoyts, have they?
They're closed. They're
closed.
Village sent an email out like last week, which said we're opening soon. Okay. But that was it.
Yeah.
Right. So, don't know.
And they've probably had pretty good backing by the government and stuff too.
Probably. Well, we hope.
We hope so.
Well, that kind of leads into the next one, because our government, right? Okay, so for the last, God knows, 10 years or so, right? Our government, and they have shown that they really don't give two shits about the creative arts in this country, right? Years ago, they laid off a ton of people at the ABC.
And this is the Liberal government?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, no, it's Liberal government at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know who it was then.
I'm pretty sure it was.
It must have been. It must have been. But whoever it was, it had to be because
it was just after, not long after the election, because they promised that they were going to put money into the arts, and then just after the election, probably not within 6 months of the election and them getting in, they turned around and they
fucking defunded the
ABC.
They
said, no, let's defund this and let's defund that.
So again, the ABC is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, not to be confused with the American Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, that Disney owns over in the States. This is the Australian ABC. So they're a government-funded body that produce a lot of television shows and stuff in Australia, like a huge supporter of the arts in the country. Right? And the government, years ago, They just defunded them by a huge margin and laid off at like hundreds of people. So this is just like our government, like for a country that used to thrive on its arts, right?
Yep.
It's like a complete backflip. So recently, this is a weird one that's been reported by Cartoon Brew. It's another really
is that a Kiwi or
Cartoon Brew?
Cartoon Brew.
I think it's American page. But yeah, another interesting ramification. This is all come from this bloody Corona thing as well. Okay, and this is the more local impact of everything. This is I'm just going to quote directly from Cartoon Brew. The article is Australia abolishes kids' content quotas. And their article reads, in April, Australia's federal government suspended certain TV content quotas in the country in a bid to combat turmoil caused by the coronavirus. These quotas are now to be abolished for good in a move that has delighted broadcasters and dismayed producers of kids' content, including animation studios. The quotas required commercial networks to air 260 hours of kids' programming and 130 hours of preschool programming per year, 55% of which had to be Australian. Under a new set of rules due to come into effect on January 1st next year, those obligations will be removed. Broadcasters will still have to ensure 55% of their content is Australian, but they'll be able to fill that quota with drama and documentary shows instead. Right, so broadcasters have been calling for the abolition of kids' content quota for years, arguing that children's shows draw few viewers and therefore harm ad revenues. Okay, so this is not a stripping back of how much content is being made in the country, but there's just not as much kids' content being made in the country, which I think is still just as shit. Because of the great kids' programs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I had when I was a kid.
There goes Bananas and Pajamas.
Bananas, Play School.
Wiggles.
The Wiggles, geez, yeah. Like so much great kids' I don't know what the hell's out there at the moment. But I think they still do Bananas. But yeah, so there's a huge scale back.
I think it's more a digital thing now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like computer animated.
Computer animated.
Weird. Used to be blokes in banana suits. Weird.
That's
weird. So on one hand, yeah, we're still going to have the same amount of work, but they're stripping all this great content for the kids, which is nuts. And there's going to be less and less content for kids on, I guess, free-to-air TV.
Yeah.
Like how...
Next they'll start attacking the anti-siphoning laws.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be next.
Yeah.
Because at the moment there has to be a certain amount of content. I don't know what the percentage is that has got to go to free-to-air before it can go to a streaming service or a pay-per-view sort of. So I reckon that'll get touched up next.
A lot of things are changing. It's just, I don't know what the ramifications of this are in the long run, whether this then means at some point they go, let's just strip back Australian content to 10% or something. I mean, that's probably the worst case scenario. But like our film industry is not surviving very well at the moment. We're importing work. We're getting US film productions. We're going, take our money, come here and film your movies here to get money into our film industry and to give our crews work. Like Thor, the new Thor film is being filmed out here. The last one was filmed out here. Shang-Chi from Marvel was filming out here as well. Heaps of big movies are coming back to Australia now because our government's
Chris Hemsworth is pushing for it, isn't he? He's pushing to have his next, his next 3 films or something. His next 3 movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So at least it's giving Australian crews work.
Yeah, well, exactly
at
right.
least.
But
it's not, any profits not staying here. It's
exactly right.
It's not
Australian productions. I mean, you've got Taika Waititi.
I think there's a couple. I think 1 or 2 of his are Australian productions.
Okay, that's all right then.
Yeah.
Well, the two Thor, obviously directed by Taika Waititi, who's a New Zealander. So that's, they wanted to film that on this side of the world. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what the ramification of this are in the long run. It means there's going to be a lot less animation probably. There's a lot of really great animated programs that are made in Australia.
Yeah, so we had a couple of big animated studio. There's a big one in South Australia, I think. Isn't there
Yeah. Oh, well, they used to
be one in Melbourne.
Pixar had an arm here, and I think DreamWorks might have had an arm. A lot of them closed.
There was a big animation studio. I'm pretty sure it was in South Australia, and they were in on it really early. And a lot of the large studios like Disney or Pixar and stuff were actually getting their animation done by the Australian company.
Well, actually, we get a lot of a lot of the American films, like the Marvel films and Disney, and outsource all the visual effects to Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But like I know people who work in animation and who are working on television shows, Australian animated shows. I mean, I don't know what this means on that front. There's a lot of great content, and that's content that's not going to exist now, which really sucks.
I just hope it doesn't mean a continual watering down of
hopefully not.
Of those
that's the worry.
Anti-siphoning laws and all that sort of stuff.
Like we've seen even just the last 6 weeks we've been doing this podcast, how rapidly things are changing.
Yep.
Oh, no, we're not doing this. 2 weeks later, we're doing that. Oh, they won't do that. They won't do that next week. Fuck, they've done it.
Yeah.
And it's so quick. So, I don't know. It's something we got to just keep our eye on. And it's changing. It's crazy. And this is like a crazy time for us to start the podcast, because this will be an interesting document of how it's all happened.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's crazy.
Week to week, just changing.
Week to week.
Day to day.
Yeah. You want some lighter news? Something that's a bit happier, more exciting?
Oh, yeah. Of
course. Let's move. Let's.
Of course we do.
Let's lighten it up a little bit. We've got past the doomsday stuff. Some big news dropped this morning. Again, breaking news, right? Hollywood Reporter reports that Benedict Cumberbatch is joining Spider-Man 3 as Doctor Strange.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard this. This is just today.
Bang this morning. I woke up to it. Oh, fuck, there's an email. What's this? Benedict Cumberbatch. Spider-Man, yes.
Wow.
Right, yeah. So this follows last week's...
But which franchise?
Oh, yeah, wow.
Which Spidey franchise?
Well, yeah, we'll get into that, right? So this follows last week's report that Jamie Foxx is returning to reprise his role of Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2. So bringing Doctor Strange into the fold pretty much confirms this multiverse theory that we were talking about last week, right? Because in both both Doctor Strange films, really, they kind of explored, the first Doctor Strange, they kind of explored the multiverse a bit. And the next one is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, right? So it's going to just fucking open the floodgates. And that's apparently going to tie into the WandaVision series. So we just know they're going to be playing around with multiverses and alternate timelines. If there's any character
that can go from universe to universe, it's
Doctor Strange, because he opens the portals to go into. Yep. So that's how they're saying, fucking, hey, let's open this portal. Shit, hey, fucking Tobey Maguire. Grab him. Let's pull him in. Right? So that's what they're going to do. And it's just like almost confirmation that that's exactly what's going to happen here, right? So again, if you're not familiar with like what a multiverse is, it goes back to the comics. You had the comics around for years. Captain America goes back 70 years. Iron Man, Spider-Man, all those guys spawned from the 1960s comics. And over this long, vast amount of time, hundreds and thousands of issues of comics, there have been alternate timelines. There have been different versions of the characters, and it said they all coexist, right, kind of at the same time, but they're all in just these different alternate realities, different timelines. And that's kind of what they're trying to do with these movies now. They're like, there have been so many versions of Spider-Man, and so many versions of the Fantastic Four. X-Men are going to get rebooted, you know. So we've got all these different... Hulk, how many times has Hulk's been on the screen by different actors, right? So now what they're doing is opening up this whole thing where they're like, okay, well, all these different franchises exist within this same kind of plane of existence, and they're all running, you know, concurrently. There's just alternate universes, right? So they're going to start bringing in, again, open up, shit, it's fucking Eric Banner. Let's grab him, right? So you have two Hulks, right?
That'd be interesting. Two Hulks beating the shit out of it.
Oh, that would be great, wouldn't it? And then bring in fucking Lou Ferrigno as well.
Danny Marsh would like that.
Oh, Danny Marsh, friend of ours, she loves the Hulk. Had a big, like that print of the Hulk on the bonnet of her car.
Yeah, so the big vinyl thing on the bonnet of her car.
Insane. So yeah, I reckon that's pretty much... Bringing Doctor Strange in is almost, confirmation that we're going to get the multiverse, alternate reality kind of thing. And they're now saying that the possible next big MCU saga, of course we had the Infinity Saga, which was all the Infinity Stones coming together over the course of 20 films. Now they're saying the next big saga could be the multiverse saga.
Wow.
What do you think? Last week we were kind of a bit like, what do you think now?
Might be a bit of fun.
I think so.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Just jumping from universe to universe and having 2 or 3 different Spider-Men and
It'd be fun. I
all
reckon
that
good.
sort of stuff.
Last week we were a bit, but the
After
more you
thinking about
more
it,
you hear about it, you think about it, you're like, okay, they're going to actually make it work. There's a reason behind it. You know, Marvel, they're so meticulous how they plan everything. And it's almost like if you've got a good reason to do it, you can do it, and you can find a really good way to do it. Doctor Strange is like the perfect conduit to do that, right?
Exactly right.
And Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, like she can create like alternate realities and visions and stuff like that. You've got these fucking magical characters in there now who just can. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, but and having now knowing that that's the way they're going with Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah.
It sort of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it sort of makes you think, maybe it'll work as a multiverse. It might be a bit of fun.
Good, more experiments. I mean, at the point where we're now like, we've had all these movies. What can they do next that's going to be that good? Well, I'm fucking getting excited again. I'm getting excited again, man. Oh, I can't wait. There has been some backlash, though, on this. The Hollywood Reporter.
Always is.
Right? Yeah, there's always some kind of backlash, right? Hollywood Reporter says the move puts Cumberbatch in the mentor role that was previously occupied by Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark and Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. The role gives Holland a chance to play opposite seasoned actors, gives Peter Parker a father figure, and gives the movies extra star power while also tying them into the greater MCU. But a lot of people out there are saying, no, I want my Spider-Man to be his own thing. I want this version of Spider-Man just be his own thing. He doesn't need to have Iron Man there to hold him up. A lot of people out there call him Iron Man Jr. because of the way they set up the characters. Like Peter Parker comes in, you know.
I understand that.
I get that too. And now people are worried, is he going to be Doctor Strange Jr. now? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I think the way they introduced Spider-Man was great. Having Tony Stark come in, play the mentor role, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a really great way to just introduce him. But yeah, you do want him to break away from that. I don't think they'll do that with Doctor Strange. I mean,
well, there's no need to. There's no need to
now because he's a seasoned Avenger, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And the banter, the kind of that chemistry they had in Endgame was great. Those scenes with just that real wit, like Benedict Cumberbatch has that really kind of dry humor, that dry wit, and Peter Parker's just a bit of a dick. He's just a kid, right?
Yeah.
Just a kid, just like bouncing off this really serious kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be so much fun. I want more of that because that works so well in just those little small doses in Endgame. I think it's going to be great. I'm really excited for this. And last week I was just so against Jamie Foxx coming back but this sounds great. Oh, man, I don't know. I'm excited.
I'm still not sure about Jamie Foxx, though.
Well, if they bring him in and give him another chance, play it like under the direction.
Play it a bit. Underplay it a bit.
Yeah,
not underplay it. Just
not so melodramatic, not so
exactly.
over the top. Yeah, I'm sure. The director will rein him in a bit. I think a lot of that performance comes down to the director that was on the last films because everything in that was so over the top and
give him the tiger, see what he does.
Well, yeah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? But yeah, so I did open up a discourse over on the Twitter to kind of find out what people were saying about this. Again, I said there's been a little bit of backlash, and there's also been some people have been excited about it too. Ben says more Doctor Strange is always a good thing. Some guy says, that's his name, some guy says with the other Spidey rumors, it wouldn't surprise me if we're getting a live action Spidey multiverse with Doctor Strange as the connector. That's what we've been saying. Yep. And Owen says, I think it's very exciting. However, I don't want it to be an easy fix for Peter's identity reveal. It better be to do with the multiverse. So I think everyone's on the same page here. Exciting, but pull it off. Hopefully they pull it off properly, right? Spidey 3 is set to open December 17, 2021. Fingers crossed.
Who knows?
Fingers crossed.
Who knows?
We've got some newly announced movies. I know we're running a little bit.
We're going to go a little over.
We're going a little over today, I think.
We apologise if it's getting too long. Just let us know.
Yeah. We try and keep it down in an hour. But if we've got a lot of stuff, I feel like a lot of these episodes we rush a lot of stuff at the end.
Yeah. This is going to go an hour 20 probably.
Probably. So if you don't like that, let me know. If you love it, let me know. Either way, I want to know. Please give me some feedback on it. We're just still experimenting, really, with this whole formula thing. Still trying to figure out how it works. We've got some newly announced movies this week. some fun stuff that we want to take a look at. There's one called Mank, which has been announced for Netflix just this morning as well.
New David Fincher film.
Yeah, who, of course, directed Gone Girl, Social Network.
That was his last film.
Yeah, that was his last film.
Girl,
Brilliant.
2014 or something?
Something like that, yeah. Brilliant movie. I love it. Social Network, great film. Seven,
brilliant
great film. Zodiac, brilliant film, completely underappreciated film that you just don't hear about enough, right? So the synopsis for Mank. 1930s Hollywood is reevaluated through the eyes of scathing social critic and alcoholic screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz, as he races to finish the screenplay of Orson Welles' iconic Citizen Kane. Gary Oldman plays Mankiewicz. Amanda Seyfried is playing Marion Davies, who was a screen actor of the 1910s to 1930s. Lily Collins is playing Rita Alexander, who is the secretary to Mankiewicz. And Tom Burke is playing Orson Welles. It's a
nice little cast.
Yeah, great cast, right?
Nice little cast.
It's opening in theatres, I believe, apparently, in November. Limited run in November, and then it's going to open on December 4th on Netflix. It's a Netflix film.
So there we go. It'll be in cinemas for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. It's been shot in black and white. It's a black and white film, and it has been shot in black and white. Apparently, they used a monochrome lens on one of the Red cameras. It looks beautiful. Like the trailer out there looks stunning. Oh, really good. I'm excited.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. I think I only watched the trailer this morning.
Would have been this morning. Went out this morning. Again, so much breaking news, right?
Yep.
But
it looks beautiful.
It looks so
beautiful.
Good. Yeah,
I love a really good black and white film, and shooting in black and white in today's technology is just magnificent.
Oh yeah, it looks.
But
stunning.
they're also putting a filter over the top too.
Yeah,
to give it that old
like scratches and stuff. Yeah. Oh, it looks good. But I think like there's been so many movies recently where you hear, we're going to release it in black and white, and then the studio at the last minute goes, no one's going to see a black and white movie. Let's open it in colour. But
this suits it. This.
Oh, for sure.
If you haven't get on to wherever you watch trailers, whether it's IMDb or wherever, and have a look. It is beautiful. It looks like it's going to be absolutely beautiful.
What I'm so excited about, right, is that hopefully some younger people, probably mid-teens, late teens, probably not younger than that, it probably won't appeal to them. But what I hope from this is they watch it, they love it, and they go back and they explore some of the classics, right?
Stuff, yeah.
Especially Citizen Kane, which is just one of the greatest movies. It's a wildly experimental film. Orson Welles was 25 years old when he made it, or like mid-20s. The studio gave him complete reign, and you
at 25.
At 25 in the 1940s, that's huge. Right, you don't hear about that today, let alone back in the 1940s. This young kid comes in, he's got free reign, last edit, everything on the film, right?
But I suppose it was all experimental back then.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But that's, it's one of those movies that's so famous for just that. But it's a brilliant film, just an amazing movie.
And they re-scandal that, didn't they?
Yeah.
And cleaned it up.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful print.
Yeah, beautiful movie.
Yeah.
So hopefully that opens up people to go and re-explore some of the older films, which would be great. We got another...
In fact, I've got a question for you later too.
Yeah?
About old film.
Okay, great. I'm excited about that. Subscription questions. Subscriber questions, rather.
Get that out.
There's another movie about the making of a movie coming out. It's called Francis and the Godfather. It's directed by Barry Levinson, who directed Rain Man back in the day. It stars Oscar Isaac as Francis Ford Coppola, the director of The Godfather, and one of our favourite movies of all time, Apocalypse Now.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Jake
it's in my
Gyllenhaal.
top three, that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Jake Gyllenhaal is Robert Evans, who's a film producer, and who was the head of Paramount Pictures at the time The Godfather was being made. Deadline reported that it's a drama about the legendary and wild battles that went into the making of the 1972 classic The Godfather. It's based on a Blacklist script by Andrew Farrote that was redeveloped by Levinson. So, you've heard about the Blacklist?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So there's a list of all these really great screenplays that haven't been produced, and they go on what's called the Blacklist every year. And a lot of them go on to get picked up by independent studios and stuff. And a lot of them are really great. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be fun. On the topic of The Godfather 3, Francis Ford, who has gone back and re-edited Apocalypse Now, how many times? 3? We've got 3 versions of that film. Apocalypse Now, Redux, and the Final Cut. So 3 versions. There was a 5-hour work print at one point, right? That's normal for a movie, especially something of a big scale. But anyway, he's gone back to redo his biggest one of his biggest duds of all time, The Godfather 3. So he's re-edited it. They're re-releasing it as Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. The description of it is Mario Puzo's The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, is an acknowledgement of Mario's and my... Oh, so this is a quote from Francis Ford.
Yep.
He says, an acknowledgement of Mario's and my preferred title and our original intentions for what became The Godfather Part 3, said Coppola. Right, so the original Godfather 3, he didn't want to make Godfather 2, let alone Godfather 3. Hey, the studio went, we're making a second Godfather. And he said, well, if you're doing that, I don't want anyone to do it but me. Yeah. So he's like, give it to me, right? And then many years later, it was like he got pushed into doing Godfather 3, and then the studio took control of it. That's why it's so shit. For this version of it's all right, but a lot of people don't like it. For this version of the finale, I created a new beginning and ending, rearranged some scenes, shots, and music cues. With these changes and the restored footage and sound, to me, it is a more appropriate conclusion to The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. And I'm thankful for Paramount for allowing me to revisit it. So it's been they've done a 4K scan of the original negative to redo this. It's releasing on Blu-ray only on December 8th in the USA, but I would hold out because there's definitely a 4K reissue of this coming. And I imagine there's a 4K box set of the Godfather films coming, and this will be included. So I'd hold out on that Blu-ray, right?
For sure.
Much as I want to see this, they've cleaned it up in 4K. There'll be a 4K coming out, especially if Francis Ford Coppola's behind it.
That'll look good too.
Oh, it would look beautiful. I'm so excited.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, this is one you pulled up this morning.
Yeah, News of the World.
Yeah.
New film Tom Hanks is involved in,
Yep.
called News of the World, directed by Paul Greengrass, who directed Hanks in Captain Phillips, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. He also directed Bourne Supremacy, Ultimatum, and the Bourne series.
Yep.
They're saying it'll be in theatres this Christmas.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
So who knows?
From Universal, this one.
Mm.
So essentially, this is like set 5 years after the end of the Civil War. Captain Jefferson Kyle Kidd, a widower and veteran of 3 wars, now moves from town to town as a non-fiction storyteller, sharing the news of presidents and queens, glorious feuds, devastating catastrophes, and gripping adventures from the far reaches of the globe. He ends up having to take in like a 10-year-old girl and like return her to her family. It sounds quite good. There's a trailer. Looks really good.
Trailer looks good.
Love Tom Hanks.
Yeah. I think it's set in the old.
Yeah, it's 5
years
in
the West after the
5
Civil
years
War,
after the Civil War. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. So it's like a Western. Tom Hanks in a Western. Is it Woody in real life?
Well, he's never done a Western, has he?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of. Not that I can think of, no.
Don't think he has.
Could be wrong, but I don't think so.
So he's done everything now.
So I'm excited. Oh, yeah, I'm excited.
He's done comedy, he's done drama, he's done everything.
There's another one. There's another one coming out. Looks terrible. Right?
This
big
shit.
I had a big backlash behind this one because it's got Mel Gibson in it. Mel Gibson's back. I don't know. This guy keeps getting work. I thought it was cancer. I thought they cancelled him.
What's he worth? 500 million, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, this is another one. This is probably another case of I can't get work with a studio, so let me fund my own projects. I don't know.
Probably. Who knows?
I'm spitballing. I don't want to say it's something that's not true. It couldn't be. But you hear about this a lot, where that you can't get work with the studio anymore, so you fund your own pictures. I don't know if that's the case here. I'm not gonna, whatever. But
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise did it. Yeah, exactly right. This is called Fatman, and Mel Gibson is playing Santa Claus, who must contend with a hitman sent from a disappointed child who's been given a chunk of coal. And it looks dreadful, and it looks so bad that we're going to just have a look at a clip from the trailer here.
Oh, check this.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've lost my influence. Maybe it's time I retired the coat.
You still have it.
Some kids with a deer rifle put 2 holes in the sleigh, one in me. All I have is a loathing for a world that's forgotten.
What's the job?
I'd like you to kill Santa Claus.
I've come for your head, fat man!
You think you're the first? Think I got this job because I'm fat and jolly?
That's fucking
That looks terrible.
That looks so bad. I mean, if you're going to come back and try and have a comeback, do something good.
Oh.
That's
terrible.
trash. That's trash.
Absolutely terrible.
Oh, man. I don't know. Again,
Move on.
Move along. He used to do some great films, but
He's done some great stuff over the years, but
controversial. Just
seriously,
stupid.
Mel.
Just, man, move
we like to
along.
claim you as an Aussie, but, because you grew up here and went to school here and all that.
But no, he's...
But my God.
Anyway, there's another one coming out called the 355 or the 355. It's got Jessica Chastain, Diane Kruger, Penelope Cruz, Lupita Nyong'o, Bing Bing Fan, and Sebastian Stan, Bucky Barnes. It's coming from Universal. It's another one of these female-centric kind of action film things. It's a dream team of formidable female stars coming together in a hard-driven original approach to the globe-trotting espionage genre. It's a top-secret weapon falls into mercenary hands, and they got to pull together this team of essentially female assassins and spies from different spy agencies around the world. So
sounds a bit ordinary.
British, and it looks pretty ordinary. I think it's going to be one of those ones where it's, just you buy it and you watch it when you just want something a bit brainless. Jessica Chastain, I love. I think she's great. I think the whole cast is really good. But Jessica Chastain's fallen into this habit of doing these just really mediocre action films recently, which is weird because she's does some brilliant stuff otherwise. I don't know. This will be something that we'll watch and just consume.
It'll probably go to Netflix or something like that.
Well, I thought it was, but apparently Universal wants to release the cinemas. They've not given a release date, but I feel like this is something. I think this is something that's going to get sold off to a streamer. But anyway, so yeah, that's something. Like all these movies have just been announced, like in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be interesting to pull them up, even if it put us over time. But for now, let's get to some subscriber questions and round this podcast out, hey?
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Now, last week we had a silly CMOS question. This week we've got a serious CMOS question.
Oh, yeah, CMOS is back.
So, Pete CMOS, thanks for sticking by. He says, okay, I'll ask a proper question.
Yep.
All of his questions are proper. We love his questions.
Yeah.
On average, a film stays in theatres pre-pandemic, approximately 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
With 2021 being so stacked, what will happen to the schedule in theatres? Will we see films come and go quickly or remain longer, but with less showings?
Well, I feel like we're seeing it already, especially with a lot of these movies that go into streaming for 2 weeks and then opening in cinemas, like Mank. I mean, a big part of that is there's these regulations behind if you want your film to be nominated for an Oscar, if it's going to Netflix, it has to be open in cinemas for a specific amount of time. I think it's like 2 weeks or something. So it has to be open in cinemas. Okay. So it can be eligible. But I think they've changed the rules this year.
I think they have because
of the pandemic and
Netflix. They'll have to start including things like Netflix.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's what it is.
Streaming
it's like,
services.
Well, because what film was that? Roma won a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was a Netflix film, but they had to open in cinemas first to be eligible. So that's what they're doing with this. Yeah. But I feel like this is probably going to be like a pretty common kind of way of releasing films. 2 weeks in cinemas, then it goes into the home.
Well, that's that one that we just spoke about before.
Mank. And again, this goes back to that Jeffrey Katzenberg thing I heard 6 years ago, which is exactly that. It's like we'll open it for a very small window, then you can have it at home on whatever platform you want, right?
Yep.
So I think that's the way that it's going to go.
Tyler Rogers. Love the show. Thanks, Tyler. Been really enjoying the podcast and the content on the channel. With rumours of the Mandalorian coming to physical media, and with shows like Stranger Things and
Castlevania.
We're getting new glasses. Isn't it? Castlevania out on Blu-ray. What other streaming shows would you like to see on 4K or Blu-ray?
I don't know. Well, we kind of looked through a list of stuff, and most of the stuff that I really love on Netflix is on Blu-ray, like The Crown or Narcos or a lot of those shows. Yellowstone. A lot of those end up, especially the Showtime stuff winds up on Blu-ray. Only thing I could really think of was like the Imagineering Story, which was that Disney Plus documentary on the Disney parks.
Brilliant.
And only because it was brilliant, and I would love to have it in I've got a big collection of Disney documentaries on DVD and Blu-ray. I'd love to have it as part of that collection. Otherwise, probably my favourite show that's on Netflix is Glow, which has just been axed, by the way. I'm devastated about it. They were announced for a 4th season, and they've had to cancel it. Pandemic. because
Yeah.
it's about wrestling, show about wrestling, and they're like,
okay.
oh, it's like really risky. Like a lot of shows are going back into production, but this because it's about wrestling and the contact and everything. They're like, we can't do this, and they can't keep everyone on contract for a indefinite amount of time. So they've gone, no, we're just going to cancel it right here. It's just devastating. But anyway, yeah, I think that'd be great on Blu-ray. I'd love that.
Okay, Owen. Owen says, opinions on Jurassic World delays, thoughts on Disney Plus physical releases, predictions on what will happen to Pixar Soul, and lastly, how are you?
Well, we covered most of that.
Yeah, we've covered all that.
But I will say I'm doing well.
Yeah, we're doing pretty
Other
well.
than all that, yeah, doing well. I mean,
even though we're in the middle of this lockdown, it
Crazy
hasn't
lockdown.
really affected us too much.
well,
It's
we're
good.
very lucky about that. So, yeah. Okay, next one.
Yubashiri?
Mhm.
Is that how it's pronounced, do you think?
I would say so, yeah.
Yubashiri,
Hopefully.
I think. Do you believe Black Widow would have done better than Mulan if released on Disney Plus?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
No doubt
A
about
Marvel film on Disney
it.
Plus.
No
yeah.
doubt about that.
No doubt about it. I don't want that going to Disney Plus. I think it's inevitable, probably. But I think, yeah, I think Mulan, again, just such a risky thing, I think, for them to have done that with. Yeah.
Motion One Picture says, I am trying to watch some older movies. What would you recommend? I've already watched Casablanca because I know everybody knows you're banging on
Everyone
about
knows I
Casablanca.
love it. I always say Casablanca. If you want to know anything about cinema, you want to like a masterclass in cinema, you watch Casablanca. You could learn anything. You can learn everything about movies and filmmaking from Casablanca. Fucking love that movie. I've written down a list of stuff. Citizen Kane, I said before. It Happened One Night. It's like one of my favorite just rom-coms. Amazing film. It's a Wonderful Life.
Beautiful film.
Which is, they're both done, written, directed by Frank Capra. Frank Capra. Amazing. You said you watched Casablanca, Bogart films, Big Sleep, Maltese Falcon, African Queen, brilliant films. Some Like It Hot, Singing in the Rain, brilliant musical with Gene Kelly, love his films. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Cool Hand Luke, Rebel Without a Cause, Ben-Hur, the Universal Monsters films, which I've been powering through at the moment. Anything by Hitchcock, Psycho, Rear Window, To Catch a Thief, that'll get you started. I think that'll get you started. Any of those movies, to me, are like the greatest classics ever made. There's so many more, but I think they're easy ones to kind of, and I think they're the ones maybe I really started with to get into the classic movies and
That's
really.
right.
Well, yeah, exactly right. We got
Posters
Marilyn
back
and Audrey and Jimmy Dean and Grace Kelly and anything.
And of course, Cool Hand Luke came to me in a dream, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he told you to
Came
build
to me and told me
theatre.
to build the theatre,
Yeah,
so I did.
So we've got him up there.
It was the first poster that went up.
Yeah,
Thanks, Paul.
thank you. Next one.
Blankness.
Yep.
What is the oldest film you've ever seen?
Wow, I've seen the first movies ever made.
Yep.
If we talk about theatrical, like feature-length films, The Story of the Cali Gang,
the
an
very first one
Australian
made.
film.
Yep.
Very first
Feature length.
feature-length,
But it was only-
narrative film.
It wasn't that long though, really, was it?
Well,
compared to today's.
compared to today's, it was probably like an hour and a half ish. Probably,
I didn't even think it was that
I think
long.
I think they've lost a lot of the film.
Right.
So what version is out there at the moment? I think is like 70 minutes. Oh no, maybe the length of the original version was 70, but there's only like half an hour surviving or something.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
Something like that.
I
Yeah.
thought it was.
So that's probably I think the original length was 70, and they've only like a lot of it's lost to time. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And there's a lot of damage to the.
There's
print
heaps
of
of
that too,
damage to
isn't
it. Yeah, really bad. I'd say it was 1904. Story of the Cali Gang. Sorry, not the Story of the Cali Gang. The Great Train Robbery was 1904. Story of the Cali Gang was 1906. The Great Train Robbery is like a short film, so it's like 20 minutes. So that was 1904. I've seen that. I've seen Georges Méliès's The Trip to the Moon, 1902, another short.
pronounce its French name.
Le Voyage dans la Lune.
Terrible.
Awful. And you brought up one.
Yeah, I did. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. What is it?
Unchain Andalou.
Yeah, which is The Andalusian Dog
Yeah.
by Salvador Dali and Louis Buñuel.
Yeah.
That was a great film. I saw that when I was at college back 40 years ago, but however long
time
ago
ago.
that was.
Yeah, 1929, that
38
one.
years ago.
The Georges Méliès film Trip to the Moon, 1902. I don't know if I said 1902, but that's like, yeah. But I've gone back. I've studied film for a long time. And like I've gone back and watched the very first pieces of footage ever filmed. So if you're serious about filmmaking and interesting about the history of film, you're going to go back to like the really early stuff and just kind of see how it was all experimented with. Some of the earlier stuff was just like a train, like driving towards a screen, or a horse, racing, just really weird experimental things. I've seen all that. So, right back to the beginning of the 1900s.
Mimu Manu.
Yep.
He or she wants to know, why did you wear a beanie?
I had lockdown, couldn't get a haircut. It was very long. It was awful, and I didn't want to be on camera with it. So I was wearing a beanie. Finally got a chance to get a haircut, and I can be beanie free. Pardon me. I can be beanie free. I am wearing a hat at the moment.
Where'd you get your haircut?
Well, you did it, didn't you? I can't go to the bloody hairdressers.
No,
so I was like,
exactly right.
Can you just take to my hair with a bloody razor?
Pair of clippers. So I got the clippers out and clipped his hair for him.
Oh, there you go.
Did a pretty damn good job too, I reckon.
That was actually, I was surprised. Next question.
Happy Dude Studios. No. What's a film that is lost to time that you wish to see?
There's a lot of them, but the one that stands out for me is a Jerry Lewis film. It's called The Day the Clown Cried from 1972. And the synopsis of this on IMDb.
I've seen this.
They've released only little bits. They never released the movie.
Oh, really?
Yep. A circus clown is imprisoned by Nazis and goes with Jewish children to their deaths.
Yep.
Right? And this was
heavy.
very controversial, very heavy film, and they're like, we can't release this. And it's in his will that's like, you can't release this movie until like X amount of years after I'm dead. It's in the hands of some film preservation society has it, and they were allowed to release it X amount of years after he died, basically. But it's like the clips they've released, there's like 5 or 10 minutes of it out there, which you probably have seen.
I have seen.
And it's heavy, man.
Yeah,
it's
really
heavy.
Stuff I've seen.
Like there's a scene where he's in one of the camps and he rips a barbed wire off the fence and puts it in his teeth, like pretending to be like a walrus or something.
Yep.
Just weird. It's heavy. It's heavy. But I'd love to see it just because it's one of those things.
BCNA Sanderson,
Yep.
What is your opinion of The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle?
It's a good one for you, actually.
I grew up with Rocky and Bullwinkle. Rocky and Bullwinkle was my older brothers. I've got a brother that's 2 years older than me, and another couple of brothers are younger than me.
Yeah.
It was his favourite. Cartoon,
yeah,
Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was fantastic, and I loved it.
I loved it. So fun.
Of course, you've got, like all the other characters in there, like Sherman and Peabody and
all those came. Dudley Do-Right, they all came from that. Yeah,
Dudley Do-Right was one of my favourites. Yeah, no, it was great. Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Good show.
Couple
more.
Catherine Alvarez, what was your equivalent of Disney Afternoon Cartoon block?
Well, we had all the Disney afternoon cartoons, but I think they were just probably played on Saturday Disney, or there was one called Studio D on the Disney Channel. They just played the block of cartoons. There was one for a few years there. In fact, I know the lady that hosted the show. Yeah.
She was a model that I used to shoot, Anne Marie. And I'm pretty sure that was Saturday Disney, wasn't it? No, I'm pretty sure it started as a weekday thing, and it was on at about maybe. It was on at about 4 p.m. or something after sure. Maybe. Well, there you go. I can't remember what that was. Liam Hull. Yep. If you could go and watch any movie in the cinemas for the very first time again, which would it be? Probably like Avengers Endgame or Infinity War. Just the Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now, yeah. Oh, I've seen that in cinemas like 3 times. Amazing. Brilliant. But I think just like that. Oh, the atmosphere and the build-up and just everyone just a buzz was like Endgame was just palpitating, One more question. Tom Bodun? Yeah. Bedouin? We apologise if we pronounce that wrong, yeah. We can't pronounce names, it's terrible. Yeah. What new bonus features do you think they'll add to the 20th anniversary Lord of the Rings releases next year? Yeah, well, they've just announced they're bringing Lord of the Rings films to 4K and the Hobbit films in 2 separate box sets, bare bones, no bonus features, and they're going to bring out a big box set next year, which has got all 6 films and probably all of the bonus features that have existed before it and some new ones.
Now, Lord of the Rings are some of the best documented films in history. When they did the extended editions on DVD for the first time, Peter Jackson released all of his diaries, his behind-the-scenes diaries, hours, like 5, 6, 7 hours worth of documentary material per film. There's hours worth of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this is just the best documented series ever. If you're into special features and stuff, it's the greatest making of documentary series of
We've watched a
things ever.
shitload of those too.
Oh, yeah, I watched most of them. I don't think I got through all of them, but I watched most of them when I was younger and they first came out. Brilliant. So what else can you offer? Well, I don't know. Because there's, like I said, there's hours of it. The entire filmmaking process has been covered. I think the only thing you can do now is like a retrospective documentary on like the impact on culture, the impact on cinema, how cinema has evolved in the last 20 years since Fellowship of the Ring came out. Maybe like a roundtable discussion with Peter Jackson and the cast and crew. I think
they were real seminal films, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like they were real groundbreaking
Oh,
films.
yeah, especially Return of the King.
Bit like Star Wars was.
Oh, yeah,
the original Star Wars back in the 70s.
Well, they were used to, break the ground for motion capture
that's
and
right.
digital, following the wake of George Lucas doing the digital things. These were like the first real ones that started employing the visual effects on such a huge scale. So like that's why it's just so important to go back and watch those special features and stuff. And I've said on here before that one of the very first filmmaking books I ever read was Andy Serkis's book on how they developed Gollum as a character, specifically with the motion capture technology and all that. Like terrific book.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's the only thing they can add to it is like a look back on how it's changed cinema. A retrospective thing, because that hasn't been done. What has been done is the documentation of the film as it happens. So
Right.
now you 20 years later, you look back on it, which is what they've done with Star Wars to death.
Yeah.
Right? And this is probably the last time they'll do some sort of expansive features. You'd think.
Exactly. We hope so.
Because when they did the Blu-rays, as far as I can remember, there were no new bonus. They just bundled all the old stuff back onto it.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
So now it gives them the chance to do like a sort of a
retrospective
thing. I think it'd be quite good. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
I'm holding out for that box set.
And just one last thing before we do go.
Yep.
Today is the 9th of October. You know what that is, don't you?
Yeah.
My personal hero's birthday. He would have been 80 years old today.
Christ.
John Lennon.
Yeah, man.
I grew up listening to this guy and the Beatles.
80.
From the first I heard of them.
Yep.
Was I would only have been probably 5 years old, maybe 4 or 5 years old that I can remember. And one of my uncles lived with us, and he lived in a granny flat out the back, and he would play Let It Be, Let It Be to death. And I remember him playing that on a little portable record player out the back. And I fell in love with the Beatles then, and over the years have come to appreciate what they have meant to society, and what, in particular, John Lennon had meant to music, I suppose, because he was the driving force. I believe he was the driving force anyway.
I think so.
To it,
sure.
Well,
he's looking over us.
So
if you're watching, he's in the back corner
there.
Just standing by.
But
he was 40 when he passed away, so it's been 40 years since
40 he was.
Wow, 40 years since he died. And
and I remember where I was and what I was doing at the time. I was actually at the local swimming pool.
Yeah.
And they announced it over the PA system.
Wow, that's insane.
That John Lennon had just been assassinated.
Crazy.
And the whole place just emptied out. Everybody went home. And I certainly went home and sat in front of the TV and was absolutely devastated. Because it had only probably, I think it was probably about a month earlier, his album Double Fantasy had come out.
That's right, yeah.
And I bought that the day it was released.
Yeah.
I made sure I had a copy of that the day it was released. And it was about a month later, I think, that he was shot.
Well, he signed a copy of the album for The Killer, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. We won't mention his name.
No.
It's not worth it.
No. He went up for parole recently again. Denied.
He'll never get out.
Yeah, keep him in there.
I hope he doesn't. Hope he rots in there.
Well, that's the end of today's show. It's been a bit of a downer.
But there's been some good stuff.
We tried to bring it back up again, and I think we did. But look, guys, that is all the time we have today. We went a half an hour over time.
We're sorry.
Again, yeah. Again, let us know if it's okay. If it's not okay, let us know. We're still experimenting with this.
We can easily do an hour and a half show every week.
I reckon we could.
But if they don't want it.
Well, exactly right. Just let us know. Look, you can find me on YouTube at Dave Lee Down Under, over on YouTube, on Twitter and Instagram. Just search me. Otherwise, links for all that down in the description below. This episode goes out on all major podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, The Visual Elements on YouTube. Patreon supporters get the visual element 2 days earlier. At patreon.com/Dave Lee Down Under. If you'd like to support myself and the podcast for as little as $1 a month. If you are listening on podcast platforms, we'd really appreciate the good reviews.
Just good ones.
Just the good ones. This week on YouTube, I just launched my 10 scariest Disney cartoons, as well as my Disney Plus Right Stuff review. This week coming up, I've got the top 10 Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. I'm excited about that. Also a review of Disney Plus Clouds. That goes up on Tuesday. My interview with the film's director, which I did this morning, Justin Baldoni, will be up at some point next week or the week after. Again, I've got a SpongeBob competition if you'd like to go in the chance to win SpongeBob Season 9. That's for my Aussie subscribers.
Is that DVD?
On DVD. There's a video on my channel. You can go and check that out and enter. Thanks again to old mate Rick for joining me.
Thanks, Dave.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Take it
guys.
easy.
Take it easy.